Welcome to this explainer. Right now, I want you to just quickly look around. Think about the chair you're probably sitting on, the roof over your head, and the town or city sitting right outside your window. Every single one of those things traces back to a quiet, totally unannounced transformation that happened roughly 12,000 years ago. Nobody sent out a press release, and honestly, nobody knew human life was about to change forever. So today, we're going to take a journey into the Neolithic Revolution. We're going to explore that incredibly complex, monumental transition from wandering hunter-gatherers to settled farmers.
Here's a quick roadmap for our explainer today. We'll start with the world before farming, explore the great agricultural paradox, look at how we domesticated the planet, uncover some shocking monuments built before farms even existed, examine the very real costs of civilization, and finally, trace the seeds of the modern world. Section 1. The world before farming. The successful 200,000-year reign of hunter-gatherers. Think about this. For a staggering 200,000 years, anatomically modern Homo sapiens lived entirely as hunter-gatherers. And during the deeply volatile, freezing climate of the Ice Age, this wasn't some primitive, failed way of life. It was an incredibly successful, highly adaptable strategy. It's literally what allowed our species to spread across almost every continent on Earth. The contrast between these two lifestyles is just fascinating. We kind of always assume farming was this immediate, obvious upgrade, right? But anthropologists have actually found that many hunter-gatherer societies worked as few as 15 to 20 hours a week to get their food. They enjoyed a highly varied, nutritionally rich diet, and they maintained a fierce egalitarianism. Because, well, you really can't hoard wealth if you have to carry literally everything you own on your back. Early farmers, on the other hand, they faced intensive daily back-breaking labor, a super narrow diet, and the very beginnings of deep social inequality. Section 2. The Great Agricultural Paradox. The worst mistake in human history? So because farming was objectively harder in so many ways, evolutionary biologist Jared Diamond once provocatively called agriculture the worst mistake in the history of the human race. Okay, let's dive into this central mystery. When we look at the skeletal records, they show us that early farmers were physically shorter, they suffered from terrible tooth decay, and they had severe repetitive stress injuries. So here's the million-dollar question. If farming was physically harder and actually made individuals sicker, why did we do it? Why on earth did we give up that 15-hour work week? Well, the answer isn't just one sudden aha moment or invention. Archaeologists generally point to 5 major theories, and it was likely a really complex combination of all these factors. First, a sudden cold snap called the Younger Dryas might have created a sheer environmental necessity to adapt. Or perhaps successful hunter-gatherers just experienced too much population pressure, basically forcing them to squeeze every last calorie out of the land. Then there's the really fascinating idea of social feasting, the need to generate surplus food just to host massive religious gatherings. We also have the dump heap hypothesis. This is literally the idea that discarded seeds simply sprouted in the trash piles around temporary camps. And finally, mutualistic coevolution, where humans unknowingly selected for genetic traits, like wheat that doesn't shatter in the wind, meaning humans and plants essentially domesticated each other over centuries. Section 3. Domesticating the planet. 6 independent birthplaces of farming. Now, this is one of the most astonishing facts in all of human history. Farming wasn't just invented once. It was actually invented completely independently across the globe by peoples who had absolutely zero contact with one another. We're talking about wheat and sheep in the Fertile Crescent, roughly 11,500 years ago, rice in China, maize in Mesoamerica, potatoes and llamas down in the Andes, sorghum and coffee in Africa, and taro in New Guinea. A farmer in Mesoamerica cultivating what would eventually become corn had no idea that someone over in the Middle East was doing the exact same thing with wheat. This global pattern strongly suggests that once the Earth's climate finally stabilized during the Holocene, farming became a nearly inevitable developmental pathway for human societies everywhere. But what were they actually doing to these plants and animals? Biologically speaking, they were triggering what's called domestication syndrome. Domestication is a genuine, real-time evolutionary process. It's artificial selection that actively alters genetics. So by selecting for specific, manageable traits, humans were fundamentally transforming wild, unpredictable plants and animals into entirely new dependent species. To make this concrete, there's this famous 1950s experiment by a guy named Dmitry Belyayev, and it makes this concept absolutely fascinating. He took silver foxes and selectively bred them solely for tameness. He just picked the friendliest ones, generation after generation. And what happened?
entirely unprompted physical changes started occurring. The foxes developed floppy ears, curly tails, and even different skull shapes. It proves that behavioral tameness and physical changes are essentially a biological package deal. And early humans triggered this exact same genetic cascade in wolves, cattle, and pigs.
Section 4. Monuments before farms. Flipping the textbook narrative. Okay, prepare to have everything you learned in high school history totally flipped on its head. The old assumption was always humans invent farming, then they settle down, and then they have the time to build monuments. But look at this timeline. At Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, massive, intricately carved, multi-ton stone pillars were erected 11,500 years ago, and they were built by hunter-gatherers. This is a shocking revelation because it suggests that the sheer human desire to gather for religion and build monuments might have actually required the massive food surpluses of farming, meaning religion and community might have driven the invention of agriculture, not the other way around. And when people finally did start settling down, daily life looked completely alien to us today. Take Cattle Hoyuk, for instance, which flourished around 9,500 years ago. This was a dense, massive settlement packed with up to 8,000 people. But get this, there were no streets. None. People literally walked right across the flat rooftops and climbed down a ladder through a hole in the ceiling to enter their homes. And most remarkably, they buried their deceased ancestors directly beneath the dirt floors of their living rooms. It suggests this incredibly intimate spiritual consciousness and a really powerful ongoing connection to the dead.
Section 5. The cost of civilization. The biological and social toll of settling down. The whole Neolithic package, which includes things like pottery, polished stones, permanent homes, and woven textiles, ushered in a totally new era. But it came with massive social upheaval and grim physical realities. The absolutely crucial point here is that settling down had a severe cost. Relying on just one or two staple crops led straight to malnutrition, which actually decreased average human height. Eating all those soft, starchy grains caused rampant tooth decay. Women in particular suffered awful repetitive stress injuries from spending hours grinding grain on stones every single day. And living packed tightly together with domestic animals, that gave birth to deadly zoonotic diseases like measles and smallpox. And socially, it was just as disruptive. The dawn of private property, finally owning a permanent house and having stored grain, fundamentally changed human dynamics forever. It laid the absolute groundwork for extreme wealth inequality and the emergence of far more restrictive gender roles than anything seen in the days of mobile bands. So, if the individual costs were really that brutal, we return to the paradox. How did farming win? Well, farming won because it produced vastly more calories per acre, creating an absolutely unstoppable demographic advantage. A single farmed field could support a massive population density compared to hunting and gathering. At the end of the day, it wasn't about individual health or happiness, it was about the sheer numerical strength of the society as a collective whole.
Section 6. Seeds of the modern world. From stone tools to ancient DNA. Let's look at the lasting legacy of this massive revolution and what modern science is telling us today. There's a cutting-edge field called paleogenomics, which is the analysis of ancient DNA, and it has completely rewritten the history books over the last 15 years. For the longest time, researchers debated if farming spread into Europe just as a cool new idea that hunter-gatherers copied, or if actual farmers migrated there. Well, ancient DNA decisively proved that it was a mass, physical migration of Anatolian farmers moving into Europe. They brought their crops, and they largely replaced the indigenous hunter-gatherer populations. Once farming was globally established, the long aftermath really kicked into gear. We moved from simply eating animals to exploiting their secondary products, things like milk, wool, and crucially, muscle power. The invention of the plow was a real game changer because it allowed a single farmer to cultivate massive, massive fields. This created immense food surpluses, and that meant, for the very first time in human history, not everyone had to work all day just to find food. That birthed specialized labor, potters, priests, administrators. Eventually, the absolute necessity to track all that surplus grain led straight to the invention of the very first written languages in ancient Mesopotamia. When you step back and really look at the epic scale of this transition, it truly is the single most consequential transformation in the entire multi-million-year history of our species. Just think about it. Cities, organized governments, complex laws, formal religions, standing armies, and even the modern household itself. Every single modern institution we rely on today stems directly from a few wild grass seeds accidentally dropped near an ancient campfire 12,000 years ago.
But as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought straight from the field of evolutionary psychology. Our genes still retain the deep evolutionary imprint of ancestors who spent nearly 200,000 years as highly mobile, free-roaming hunter-gatherers. We've only spent a tiny fraction of that time living in the settled, brain-heavy, densely populated, high-stress world we built for ourselves. So ask yourself, is the stress, the chronic illness, and the modern anxiety we feel today simply because our ancient Ice Age biology is still fundamentally mismatched with the settled world we created? It's definitely something to ponder the next time you sit down to eat. Thanks so much for exploring the Neolithic Revolution with me today. Keep wondering and keep learning.